Now, we've been on a study in the Gospel of Matthew, and we're getting near the end. We're not very near the end, we're getting near the end. And 2 weeks ago, Pastors John and Isaac led us into the final week of Jesus' life and ministry. And so in this final week, it is when the tensions between Jesus and the people who oppose Jesus is really starting to heat up. In fact, in chapter 23 today, I believe that those tensions, you can almost say it overheats, right? There is an intensity that is increasing. There is an urgency that is increasing. And Jesus is, you will see on a straight read, right? If you were to read Matthew 23 at a straight go, you will see on a straight read that it is almost as if Jesus is so angry, But when you see this, I don't want you to see that Jesus is just angry for angry. I believe that when you see the heart of Jesus being so, if you can say, frustrated that he can't get through to the Pharisees, that what's really going on is that he loves them so much. He loves them so much. And he loves the people so much that he cannot stand them being misguided and misled and taught wrongly. But you know what? Yesterday I had a revelation that Jesus also loves the Pharisees so much. He loves them. He loves them. And I believe today he wants to show you that he loves you. I've entitled today's sermon, Hate Hypocrisy, Love what? Hate hypocrisy. Hate hypocrisy. Of course, we have to hate hypocrisy because Jesus hated hypocrisy. But if we do, what should we love in opposition to hating hypocrisy? Today, we want to get into that. Now, hypocrisy is one of those things. It's one of those strange things that I believe if you were to take a poll, right, just to go out there and ask your non-Christian friends, bro, what is the main thing that you dislike most about Christians? Now, I don't have the data, so this is not data-driven, but I believe many of them will say, Christians are hypocrites, right? Wow, you all finished that line for me, right? It means it's true. It means I think it's true of our experience. I think it's true of when we interact with our friends. We've heard it many times that when people complain about Christians, usually they are saying Christians, hypocrites, right? And just 2 nights ago, I was sitting at my dining table with my wife Athalia, and we were talking about this sermon and about hypocrisy, and we realized something quite strange, right? And it's this, that I'm sure if you were to say do business with a man who happens to be a Buddhist or who happens to be a Hindu or a Muslim, and let's say that business deal goes really bad and you got cheated, right? I'm quite sure you won't walk out of that deal and say, see lah, all these Buddhist people, hypocrites. Right? Or all you Hindus, I knew it, this guy, Hindu, hypocrite. I'm sure you guys won't say that because generally people don't say that. Even among themselves, I'm sure they don't say that. But let's just say, you have one guy who's non-Christian and he's doing a business deal with a guy who has gone to church before. Never mind, went to his house, saw a Christmas tree once before, and let's say the deal went really bad, and I'm sure this guy is going to walk out and say, see lah, Christians, hypocrites. Right? Why? What is it that we seem to get saddled with this label more frequently than others? Is it true that hypocrisy is more commonly occurring among Christians compared to Buddhists, Hindus, or Muslims, or atheists, or whatever? I'm not so sure, but the fact is, they are saying this of us. It is being said of us. And so we need to take this seriously. We can't just brush it off and say, no lah, everybody else also. You know what? We can't. We have to take it seriously. And Jesus takes it very, very seriously. So that's what we're going to do today. Are we good? Yeah? Second service, we good? Now, I'm not going to read the whole text through because the whole chapter, I time myself. It takes 5 minutes. I don't have 5 minutes. So I'm just going to read it chunk by chunk. And then I'm going to preach as we go along. I'm going to preach progressively, So I tried really hard to put everything into 3 points, right? 3 points, 3 P's of hypocrisy or something. I couldn't, right? I really couldn't this time round. So we're just gonna go with the flow. Are we okay with that? Yeah? All right, let's start. Chapter 23, verse 1. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, "The scribes and the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat. So do and observe whatever they tell you, but not the works they do. For they preach, but do not practice. They tie up heavy burdens, hard to bear, and lay them on people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to move them with their finger." What's going on here? Well, I'm going to summarize this. It means that the Pharisees, they don't preach, they don't practice what they preach, they don't help people towards holiness. Now, before I move on, I want to say a thing or two about Pharisees. The Pharisees now were the religious elite of the day. They weren't the only ones. There were Sadducees, there were other teachers of the law and scribes, but they were the most prominent ones, at least in the gospel accounts. And they have set up the religious kind of like ecosystem, the religious hierarchy, so that the Pharisees are all the way up there and everybody else is down there. And they set it up so that everybody must revere them and kowtow to them and honor them. And when they walk into a room, they must, bring them to the chair and dust off the chair and sit nice, and everything they say must, Rabbi. So they set it up so that they are right at the top of the food chain and everybody else is like the scum of the earth. And the way they would teach is they would say things like, "Oh, you're such sinners, cannot be saved one. Only me and my friend Caiaphas and my brother Annas, who are the high priest, only we can be saved. Oh, that's why you don't take one. That's why you cannot be saved, So that's how they would speak very condescendingly over the regular guy. And we all hear the regular guys, right? So I think you and I have a certain feeling about people who talk down to us, okay? So that's the background of who Jesus is speaking to. Let's move on. Verse 5. They do all their deeds to be seen by others. So they make their phylacteries broad and their fringes long. That's the way they dress, the grooming, okay? And they love the place of honor at feasts and the best seats in the synagogues and greetings in the marketplaces and being called rabbi by others. But you are not to be called rabbi, for you have one teacher and you are all brothers. And call no man your father on earth, for you have one Father who is in heaven. Neither be called instructors, for you have one instructor, the Christ. What are we talking about? The Pharisees loved attention and praise and position and titles, and they loved to jostle with God for glory. I am the rabbi. No. Jesus is the rabbi. God is your teacher. You have one instructor, the Christ. A month ago, I preached a sermon, I believe it was at the 3rd and the 4th service, entitled The Path to Kingdom Power. And today's sermon is very much like a companion piece, like a sequel to that sermon. I know if you're a second service regular, you wouldn't have heard that. So if you want to fill up the context to today's sermon, I want to encourage you can go back home and then you can YouTube it or listen to it on the pod, right? The Path to Kingdom Power. But there I really talk about how the disciples of Jesus also had a bit of this spirit and they started jostling with each other for high rank and for position and honor, and how Jesus corrected that attitude and reminded them that the first in the kingdom shall start from the bottom. Amen? Are we good? Yeah? Let's move on. Verse 11. The greatest among you shall be your servant. Whoever exalts himself will be humbled. Whoever humbles himself will be exalted. The Pharisees wouldn't serve the people. They exalted themselves. They angkat themselves. They make a big deal about themselves. And the whole while, they made a small deal about the people they were serving. Now, we're how many months into the Matthew series, right? And my mind goes back all the way to the days we started in February, I think, that we started our Matthew series. And very quickly, we got to chapter 5, 6, and 7, the Sermon on the Mount? How many of you guys remember that? You love that, right? Okay, so we got into the Sermon on the Mount, and to begin the Sermon on the Mount, now, Jesus' first public address was the Sermon on the Mount. It was the first time he stood in front of a public crowd and gave his maiden sermon. And at the Sermon on the Mount, he gave what? 8 beatitudes, right? Eight proclamations of blessedness on those who would be humble and who would be disciples. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn. They shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek. They shall inherit the earth. And so on. He gave 8 of that in his first public address. Matthew 23 is his last public address. 23 is his last sermon, is his last public speech. After this, everything he says is in small groups, in a private home, in a garden, in a dinner table. After this, it's all private meetings. But this is his last sermon. Now, I want to show you this because when I saw it, it was amazing. My eyes almost fell out. His first public address, he gives 8 blesseds for the disciples. In his last public address, he gives 8 condemnations, 8 woes for those who are hypocrites. I'm going to show you this one by one, okay? I'm not going to take forever, but I really want to show you this because it's quite spellbinding. The first beatitude was, blessed are the poor in spirit, for they shall inherit. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven, right? So in the first one, the poor in spirit inherit the kingdom of heaven. The first hypocrisy that Jesus denounces is, woe to you, you shut the kingdom out. So the first parallel is a parallel about kingdom. Woe to you, you shut the kingdom out from people and you yourselves don't enter. Second beatitude, blessed are those who mourn, who suffer, who are grieving. Why? You shall be comforted. The second hypocrisy that Jesus denounces, woe to you who devour the widow's home, who exploit the widow and rob from the orphan. Woe to you who pick on and take advantage of the most vulnerable people. The second parallel is of the grieving underdog who is being trampled down. The third beatitude is, blessed are the meek, for they shall what? Inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth. But the third hypocrisy that Jesus denounces is, woe to you, you go to the ends of the earth, right? You see that parallel? Going to the earth, right? Go to the ends of the earth to make even just one convert. But when you make that convert, you convert him into hell. Wow. The fourth beatitude is, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. These are the people who have a deep, deep longing for spiritual things. The fourth hypocrisy is, woe to you whose eyes are on the gift and on the gold that is in the altar and the temple, because their fixation is not a hunger on righteousness. Their hunger is for greed and profit and materialism. Wow. You guys can see this, right? I'm liking this. The fifth beatitude is, blessed are the merciful, for they shall be shown mercy. The fifth hypocrisy that Jesus denounces is, woe to you who tithe your dill and your cumin and all of your herbs, and you calculate until properly, but you forgot justice. You forgot mercy. Mercy, there you go. The fifth parallel is on mercy. You forgot faithfulness. You should have done it all, right? The sixth beatitude is, blessed are the pure in heart. They shall see God. The sixth woe that Jesus declares is, woe to you who clean the outside of the cup, but inside dirty. Outside of the plate, but inside dirty. The parallel is purity of the heart inside versus outside clean, inside dirty, filthy. Yeah? The next one, hypocrisy number 7 and the blessing number 7. The seventh one is, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God, right? Now, the seventh hypocrisy that Jesus attacks is the whitewashed tombs. It's very much like the first one. You make outside beautiful, beautiful, but inside you carry death everywhere you go. I can't really see a parallel on this seventh one. It is the only one I don't really see a parallel, so I'm not going to force the issue, but I want to show you the last one. Man, the last one. Blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. The last woe that Jesus denounces are all the Pharisees who say, if we were in Ezekiel's time, we would not have persecuted him. If we were Isaiah's contemporaries, we would have protected him. We wouldn't have persecuted him. Lie. In fact, right now, you are persecuting the prophets that that God has sent to you. So you see, 7 out of 8 of the Beatitudes and the woes, almost you could say, mirror each other. It's really quite staggering to see. So the whole Gospel of Matthew is bookended by this first and last address, an address to the humble disciples, an address to the arrogant hypocrites. Amen? Let's get on. Let me put it down into a chunk because I think you're afraid. You're thinking, oh no, this is an 8-point sermon and it's Fergus. Oh my gosh, we're going to be here till Monday, right? Don't worry. I'm just going to breeze through them. I'm going to camp out on 1 or 2 and I'm going to move on, right? So let's just take them in little chunks, okay? The first 2. Let's read. Verse 13. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you shut the kingdom of heaven in people's faces. You neither enter yourselves nor allow those who would enter go in. What's going on here? This verse is very much in relationship with verse 4, where Jesus says, you guys, you load a heavy burden on the people and you don't even lift a finger to help move it, right? So what were the Pharisees doing? You know what they were doing? They were setting up the standard for salvation to be so impossibly high. So Moses gave the people 10 commandments. So you follow 10 commandments, right? But no, not enough. So they created, man-made, they expanded the 10 commandments into 613 laws and bylaws and sub-laws and sub-provisions, right? So that even if you just break one of them, they will come to you and say, see la, I knew it. All you people, you cannot come into salvation. You cannot enter the kingdom because you broke that one law, ma. So me and my bros, we don't break the law one. Me and Caiaphas, we keep the law one because we're very pious one, So this is what they would do. They will make it so difficult for the regular guy to enter the kingdom of heaven. Now I started asking myself, hey, you know what? All these Pharisees, it's so easy to demonize them, to paint them out like a supervillain, like they're so bad and they're horrible demon monsters, and we're not like that. Oh, thank God I'm not like a Pharisee. And maybe when the moment you say, thank God I'm not like one of those Pharisees, we start to sound like one of those Pharisees. After all, wasn't it the Pharisee who gave that huge prayer saying, oh God, I thank God I'm not like one of these scum, And he was one of those scum, right? So maybe what I wanted to do today, I don't just want to show you what the Pharisees did and say, don't do, and then I show you one more thing, and then I say, don't do, and then I go through 8 different, show you one thing, and then say, don't do, because I don't think that's going to be very helpful to lead us all towards holiness. But I think what might be helpful is this, that the Pharisees and the way they are, maybe they're not so different from us. Maybe it just takes a while of being without Jesus, without the grace of God, to turn our soft hearts into hardened hearts. And after a while, we might just look quite like them. Because I think that there is something common underneath what's happening in them. I want to lift the hood, right? You peel off the first few layers to see actually why the Pharisees like that. Why they're so insecure? Why they're so like that? Why they're so nasty? Nasty people all got something going on underneath one, right? Okay, they're not just nasty, So you peel off the first few layers and you say, oh, there is something in their human nature that is exactly like that. And you know what? If I peel off my first few layers of my Christian veneer, actually underneath, I'm also a little bit like that, right? So today I want to see what is that, something like that. And I think what's going on here in the first woe, the first condemnation is this, that the human nature is that we put others down to feel good about ourselves. Now, you may not be in a position, we may not be in a position to lay a heavy load on the common man looking for salvation. But you know what? Maybe we all do this as well, no? Maybe we're all insecure, and then when we see somebody doing good, we bosong, and then when we bosong, we try to throw some shade on them, say something not so nice about them, so that in our heart we can feel like, I feel a bit better about myself. Okay lah, maybe you're very holy one lah, okay? But I'm not so holy, okay? So at least I wasn't so holy. It came into full front actually for me when I was in Form 4. Now, you must know this about me. I grew up in all-boys school, okay? So I was very insecure when I was meeting girls, okay? So in Form 4, all-boys school, suddenly got Interact Club, okay? Interact Club means got other schools, got girls' schools, got convent girls, right? Okay, so I found myself in this little group of friends with about 4 of us guys from my high school, and then about 4 more of those girls from the convent school. And obviously, you got a group like that, the boys want the girls to like them one lah, right? Okay, so I won't lie, I wanted the girls to like me, okay? And so we were in this group, and there was this goofball of a guy from he was one of my classmates, right? And he was just a joker lah. He's just one of those guys, and I didn't think the girls would be attracted to him. You know, he's just goofy guy, but somehow the girls like him more. You know, I mean, I don't know if they liked him that way, but they kind of accepted him, which I didn't really like because I wanted the girls to like me instead. You know, and so a monster came out of me, right? Like every time this guy, he would tell jokes and he would say something, and the moment he finished, I would say something, right, to sambong his joke and then make him look stupid one. And I'll be like, right? And then he would tell some story, some great story about what he did in what. And the moment he finished, I would say something to spoil his story and then to ruin his moment and then to crack another joke, a wisecrack joke, and then make him look stupid again, right? And I did this. You know, I didn't even realize I did this. I was doing it. It just felt fun. It just felt nice to just keep giving this guy a good ribbing, right? And I think I crossed the line. Many times I crossed the line. And one day he came up to me. You know, his whole face was red. He was livid, you know. And he came up to me. He's like, Fergus, you know, every time I tell a story, you must come and like spoil it one, you know. You must say some stupid thing, and you make me look stupid. Why you always do that, And every time I tell a joke, why, you must after that, you just choose that time to tell another joke, and then after you spoil my joke, everybody laugh at your joke. They don't laugh. Why you like that, You know, I cannot stand people like you know. We just had leaders advance, right? And for the leaders around us, you know, Pastor Chu took us through this self-examination called the Spiritual APGAR score, APGAR, right? Your attitude, you know, how's your prayer life, how's the place of God's word in your life, you know, awareness. Oh man, awareness. That was self-awareness, right? The moment this guy came with his hot red face yelling at me, I was like, oh, I think I made this guy quite mad, right? And I realized after thinking about it that I was very insecure. I couldn't stand seeing this guy be accepted and liked by the girls, and I wanted to churi his glory as well, you know. And I realized how insecure I was, and that I needed to put this guy down so that the girls would like me, right? Like worst way to get girls to like you, right? But I realized this: we put others down to feel good about ourselves. And this becomes a hypocrisy when we present ourselves to be like their friend, but actually we are like undermining them the whole time, you know. And I think that's what's happening with the Pharisees. They were presenting themselves to be the shepherds of the sheep, but the whole time they were undermining them so that they could feel good about themselves. Friends, hate this hypocrisy. You gotta have some hate for this kind of hypocrisy because it's ugly, it's horrible, and Jesus himself deeply, deeply reviles it. So if you're gonna hate this hypocrisy, what must you love in exchange? Love a bit of self-scrutiny, Love a bit of self-scrutiny because you know what? I realize that if you don't even have the self-awareness, you can't even do the rest, you know? Because if you can't even scrutinize yourself, you won't allow yourself to be scrutinized, you can't even progress. past the first condemnation. Yeah, past the first hypocrisy. Are we good? Love a bit of self-scrutiny. Allow someone to speak into your life. When someone gives you feedback about this part of you, don't wait until your friend comes to you with a red face, right? But scrutinize yourself. Do a bit of reflection all the time. Amen? Let's move on. Hypocrisy number 2 is verse 14. Now, if you're looking at your hard copy Bible and you don't see verse 14 there, it's okay. It's probably in the footnotes because some of the manuscripts of Matthew does not contain 14, but equally, verse 14 is in Luke 20, verse 14 is in Luke 12 in all the manuscripts, so it's totally legit. I'm just going to preach this. Let's move on. Verse 14. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense you make long prayers. Therefore you will receive the greater condemnation. What's going on here? The Pharisees were looking out for opportunities. They were looking out for opportunities and they were looking through. By the way, they are also the gatekeepers of the law. So I believe that when they saw a loophole in the law or an opportunity, what they would do is they would rampas the widows' houses. They would repossess the homes of the widows. They would take away the possessions of the widow and often the most vulnerable people. Because they are the ones for you to oppress, right? I mean, I was recently teaching my son in this world, because he's recently gotten into like Transformers. And then he's like, bad guys, like he likes Megatron and Starscream, and I'm like, okay, son, there's like bad guys, good guys, but this world actually is not just bad guys and good guys. This world is divided into 3 groups: bad guys, good guys, and weak guys. And how this whole thing works is that bad guys want to rob from weak guys. Bad guys want to exploit weak guys. Good guys are the people who stand in between bad guys and weak guys and defend the weak against the strong, even if they're not as strong as the bad guys. And of course, the bad guys keep growing stronger because they keep exploiting from the weak, right? And that's what's happening here, right? You've got the Pharisees who are exploiting the poor and the widow and the most vulnerable in society. What's going on? Takkan you and I do that, right? SRBKL, we don't exploit the widow. We care for the widow, right? So we're not like the Pharisees, like, okay, we can move on. No, maybe we need to look a little deeper. What's going on underneath? Actually, I think what's going on underneath is that the human nature, we love profit. We love a bit of profit. In fact, we love any kind of profit. And we are prepared to put up with any kind of profit, even unjust profit, even dirty profit, even haram profit, as long as we can cover it up with pious acts and pious works and displays of religiosity, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you shouldn't love a profit. Because if you're a business owner, you owe a profit to your shareholders, right? And if you're in business, you need to make profit. How to cari makan, right? But what then must you love more than that? And how do you beat down this hypocrisy? You must love a clean conscience more. You must love a clean conscience more. And what does a clean conscience look like? You know what? I believe a lot of this is going to be between you and God. For example, you're doing a business deal, someone comes up to you and says, hey, brother, I must tell you that in order to settle this problem, whoa, stop. I don't want to hear. How you settled that problem for me, I don't want to hear. Don't ask, don't tell. I don't want to know. You settle it, settled. Let's move on with this deal. Clean conscience or not a clean conscience, it's between you and God. It really is between you and God. I'm not here to moralize. But friends, you need to know this. You want to profit? Good. We all want to get ahead in life. But at what expense? And what the Pharisees were doing is that they wanted a profit at the expense of the poorest around them. Love a clean conscience more. Let's move on. The next chunk is about the hellish convert and the gift and the goal. Verse 15. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you travel across the sea and land to make a single proselyte. That's a convert. But when he becomes a convert, you make him twice as much a child of hell as yourselves. What's going on here? right? Jesus is saying, all you Pharisees, you go very far to get a following. You will travel all the way to this town and that place and this kampong and this part of Instagram, and you will go everywhere to grow your following, right? To grow your crowd. Actually, nothing really wrong with growing a crowd, except why are you growing a crowd? Why do you want a following, right? Now, I think we can be a bit like this, because what's happening is that the Pharisees is walking in, right? Let's say they have a leaders advance of Pharisees, right? So all the Pharisees are coming together to hear what is the vision for next year. So Pharisee number 1 walks in, he's got like 15 followers, tok, 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 wah, buay liao, tok, 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 Then they all walk into the room, and then all the other Pharisees go, whoa, this guy got so many followers, his district so big, And then just as he was basking in that, Pharisee number 2 walks in, and he's got 30 followers. Wow, wow, cannot find seat, must sit on the floor, And then, oh yeah, this guy, how come his district so big? Wow, what's wrong? Why you like that? Why you like that? Right? And then a third Pharisee walks in with 60 people. Boom! Wow, they're outside, overflow room, and then that Pharisee walks in and he just sits down like boss like that. And then wow, all the other Pharisees, wow, what this guy did to his district, why he got so many followers. Hey, brother, how come you got so many followers? Followers? No lah, these are just my key leaders. Oh, yo, wow, man, this guy, right? Why do we want so many followers? Actually, for the Pharisees, it was to make them look good. It was to look good. It's not because they want to love them more. It's because they already love 20 people and they have capacity to love another 20, right? That's why they grew their following, right? No, it's because it made them look good. And to gather a following, it's that you have that following because you want to serve them, you want to love them, right? But for these guys, they gathered for them to serve them. The following to serve their ego, the following to serve the rabbi's public image, right? So what's underneath this? Are we like them? Maybe a bit, because we also want a big following to look good. Not because we want to love many people. Maybe you say, this is a pastor problem lah. This is a church leader problem. It's not my problem. You got Instagram, you got Facebook, you everyday look, right? 1,300. 2 more followers. Yes! People are interested in me, right? It's everybody's problem. Vanity is everyone's problem. Popularity is everyone's problem, right? And the reason why it's hypocritical is because you represent to your people as if you love them so much, but how you want them to love you so much. That's all it comes down to. How do you tear down a hypocrisy like that? How do you hate this hypocrisy? Love and serve your people. Just love them properly. Serve them properly. Don't worry about the size, because what? Big is not strong. Small is not strong. What's strong? Strong is strong. And we just had our leaders advance. Can I say this? After the leaders advance, the pastors gathered and we started swapping stories, And can I say this unanimously? All your pastors are so proud of you, man. We are so proud of all the leaders. My own leaders, I've seen how they've gone so far. They went to great lengths to visit people in hospital, to go and pray for this person, to go and help them out with this situation. Went to this place, went to that place. I don't even know one, they're all doing this. And we hear these stories across the whole pastoral team. I can tell you this, Pastor Chiu, Pastor Lee Chu, and all the pastors and elders are so proud of all the leaders. Can you give a hand to your cell leader, your ministry leader, your zone leader, all of you guys? So good, man, I tell you. I thank God. I really thank God for all of you. But let this be a reminder. Love your people first. When you have more capacity, grow, and love them more, right? Let's move on. The fourth one is this, verse 16. I won't read the whole chunk. I'll give you the gist. Woe to you, blind guides, who say, if anyone swears by the temple, it is nothing. But if anyone swears by the gold on the temple, then that oath cannot be broken. What does this mean? It means that if you swear by the temple, temple actually nothing one, you can break that oath one, don't care one, but if you swear by the gold in the temple, that one you cannot break. And then they say another one, anyone who swears by the altar is nothing. But if you swear by the gift on the altar, that one you cannot break. If you swear by the altar, break lah, your promise can break one, it's okay one. But if you swear by the gold, you swear by the gift, that one cannot break. What's going on? What's going on here is this, that the Pharisees, being the custodians of all the gifts in the temple, have first dibs on it. They have the dibs on the gifts at the altar. And so what they were doing is they were stimulating an awareness about the importance of the gift and the gold, not the God. Right? So what they were saying is that, the gift is very important. The God that makes the gift holy is not so important. The gift is more important, right? But that's not true. That's a lie, right? Because the gold in itself only has its own intrinsic value, right, of gold. And you and I know that even that value fluctuates, right? But where does it get its sacred value? Not in itself, in association with the temple. The moment that gold is not associated to the temple, it loses its sacred value. Same thing for the gift. The gift has only the value of the material thing, but it becomes holy in association with the altar that it's on. Without the altar, it loses the sacred value. Same thing, I tell you, with all of us, my wedding ring, okay, it's a gold wedding ring, okay, I don't know how much it would fetch today, maybe like $1,000, okay, let's just say for simplicity's sake, $1,000, okay. My wedding ring only has that value because it's just metal, right? But it is sacred and holy. Why? In association with my wife and the covenant I made to her that I would be her husband till death do us part. Then it becomes sacred. Then it becomes a holy thing, right? So the gift and the gold is always secondary to the thing that gives it holy value. And the Pharisees were so blind, they missed this. Why? Because they wanted the gift. They didn't want God. And I think that's the human nature underneath this, is that for all of us, we can be like that also. We want God not for God. We want God for the gifts that He can give us. And maybe for us, it's not a gold, it's not a gold ring or a gift on the altar. Maybe for us, it's healing. Sick, pray, seek God, read Bible, prayer altar, healing rally, The moment you're healed, back to the old ways. Why need God one, no need one? I healed already, ma. Cannot. You must seek God for God, right? Because underneath this, you know that our human nature is like that. You know that. Let's move on, right? How do you do this? Love God with no agenda other than God's agenda. Are you asking God to fight your battles, or are you fighting God's battles? It makes a big difference. Sure, you can ask God to fight your battles. You know what? If it's your battle, God has no obligation to fight your battle for you, man. But if you are fighting God's battle, He is winning His battle all the time. You fight His battle, you become part of the winning team all the time. But if you have your own agenda and you come to God and say, God, I have my agenda, I don't know about your agenda, but I want to do this, come and bless me, come and help me, come and make me successful, He is under no obligation to be part of that project. He wins His battles. Amen? 5, 6, and 7. Let's go into it. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you tithe mint and dill and cumin and have neglected the weightier matters of the law. Justice, mercy, faithfulness. What's going on here? These are the people who look into the minor details. Wow, I tell you, I tithe my mint, and then I tithe my cumin, and then I tithe my herbs. But I tell you, the day I was supposed to tithe my cumin is in US dollar, So my cumin, at that day where I was supposed to tithe, it was US dollar was lower, but now higher already. So if I tithe it today, I have to tithe more. But then that day, the day for tithing is that day USD must lower, so maybe I should tithe a little less, leh. And then another guy say like, oh, my cumin, right? Do I tithe gross or do I tithe net, right? And then Elder Kuntat comes and tells you, your blessings from God, you want gross or you want net, right? And you polish that stupid doorknob until it's shining and you can comb your hair in that doorknob because it's so beautiful. But the door is falling apart and the whole house is a mess. But you're like, but the doorknob is so nice. Doorknob very important one, because people don't touch the door, they touch the doorknob. And the doorknob must be clean. If not, you must put a wet wipe and then you can open the door. Doorknob must be nice one. The whole house is falling apart. And you're worried about the doorknob. The whole house was falling apart. They were tithing and calculating how the mint, the dill, the cumin, the herbs, the seeds, and everything. And justice was neglected. Mercy was neglected. Hey, friends, you're interested in justice and mercy or not? Some of us are not one, And that's why I think what's happening under this, right? The human nature under this is this. That we'll find all kinds of mundane excuses to avoid the big things of God. We'll find, and then we're very clever to make those big things very, very important. We can justify it. I can write a paper on why the doorknob is the most important part of the house, right? I can write a paper on why the cumin is the most important tithe to give. But we miss the point. Why would you miss the point? I think it's because sometimes we are not honest with God. That the big things of God don't excite us. Justice, mercy. Friends, are you interested in mercy? Well, man, I'm interested in lunch, right? You're not interested in mercy. I don't know, a bit too much lah. I don't know. I read after a while, I'm very muak to read all these things about mercy and justice. No lah, I just want to move on with life. Okay. At least you can be honest with me, At least can you be honest with God? Can you bring that before God and tell Him, God, you know what? I read in Matthew 23 that I'm supposed to be interested in all this, but I'm not. Okay, I'm not. Can I come clean with you? Can I be honest with you? I'm not interested. The antidote to this hypocrisy is be honest with God. If you're not interested in the big things, come clean. Tell Him, don't BS with God. You know what BS is, right? It's bluff yourself, right? Yeah. I heard something else there. Yeah, it's not. It's bluff. Why you want to bluff God? Why you want to bluff yourself? Don't bluff anybody, right? If you're not interested, at least you're honest. As you come clean. And maybe when you come clean and you tell Him, God, why like that? I don't care for the poor. Why I don't care for the poor? Can you give me a love for the poor? And maybe when you ask, He will give you a love for the poor. And then suddenly you find that you're a bit more merciful. You're a bit more caring. You're a bit more interested in injustice and all that stuff, right? But it starts with being honest. You can't move forward if you're not honest with yourself. Okay? But I know we're a very honest one. Okay, so let's move on. 25. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you clean the outside of the cup, but inside dirty. You clean the outside of the plate, but inside dirty. Why? I think what's going on here is that we like showing people that we are better off than ourselves, right? We like showing people that we are okay, we are good, we're winning. And I really felt led to say this across the whole weekend. I don't know if this will speak to any of you. But there might be some of you who are running a business. You've got a business partner. And inside your business situation, it's a mess. It's really a mess. Okay? You're not even talking with your partner. You're not aligned. You don't even know what your flagship product is. You don't know what your core business is. But you see your friend, your competitor, do like the big annual dinner. You are, wow. These guys can do big annual dinner. They must be so successful. We show them. It's like, and then you throw a big annual dinner, you put all your budget, you make big, make nice. Everybody Instagram, take big, show the whole world that we are winning. Why? Because you must fake it till you make it. And then you think, the more I project success, the more success will come. And actually, padahal, inside, it's dead. Inside, it's a mess, right? It's a mess. I'm going to show you because this and the next one are very similar, right? I think that one antidote to this kind of hypocrisy is that we need to love how God is progressively transforming us. Because I think a lot of the times our culture teaches us that we need to be the finished product. That's why we project, right? We're not prepared to deal with the fact that we are slowly being shaped by God from one glory to another. One glory to another means that you're not yet fully glorious, okay? And we don't like that. We want to be the finished product. So we want to show everybody. But maybe we need to start to love how God is taking us on a journey. The next one is very similar. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees. Why? Whitewash tombs. You paint your tomb white, nice. You decorate everything. But inside, death. Inside, death. We like to beautify from the outside in. We like to show the world that we are very successful, then hope that by osmosis, the success can go all the way into our boardroom and into me and my partner's relationship. By the way, this applies to families as well, Yeah, husband, wife, sleeping in different bedrooms. Son hates the mother's guts. Mother hates the son's guts, Don't want to talk. Every day talk already fight, But then, let's go holiday. Go holiday. When go Europe, take picture, nice, like family smiling, and the moment everybody fighting. But then, let's Insta story come out, everybody like, yay! And then Insta story stop. Why? Because you want to show the whole world you're doing great, but you're not. Can I say this? Love a beauty that comes from inside out. Fix those problems, then the outside will look nice. Fix that inside before the outside can become beautiful. We want to love from outside. We want to beautify from outside and then hope that it transmits itself all the way in. It doesn't work that way. It's a hypocritical way to show strength. Real strength, no need to tayang one. Real unity in the family, no need to tayang. If you got, you tayang, okay lah. You don't have, you tayang for what? Right? That's hypocritical, right? But let's move on. The last one. Verse 29. I won't read the whole thing. This is the one where it says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. You build the tombs of the prophets. You decorate until nice. But you say, if we had lived in the days of our fathers, we would not have taken part with them in the shedding of blood of the prophets. This is the one where they say, if I was there in Jesus' time, I wouldn't have said, crucify him. If I was there, I would have been one of the faithful ones. All these lousy disciples, crucify him, so fickle. So I wouldn't have been. I would have been one of the good ones. Hey, friend, 12 disciples, no good ones, okay? No good ones. Even Peter, so bold to say, wherever you go, I'll go. I will never leave you. I will never denounce you. And then, what happened? 6 hours later, 3 times, I don't know this man. Friends, are we like that? I can tell you, none of us wants to believe we are like that. Every single one of us wants to believe that we would have been the exception to the norm, that we would have defeated the statistics and somehow or rather, we would have been that one disciple, that special snowflake disciple that would not have said, crucify him or run away like a coward. Which one are we? The one who would not? You know what? I'm not so sure, Because I think underneath this, right, the Pharisees thought that way. They thought they were so great. They thought they would never be able to do anything so heinous as to kill the prophets. But how? By doing that, right at that moment, they were in the process of killing Jesus. They were in the process of killing Jesus while those words came out from their mouth. What is it in our human nature that makes us like that? I think we can sometimes be deluded to think that we are incapable of great immorality. Let that sink in. We can be deluded to think we are incapable of great immorality, of heinous acts, of really becoming monsters. Can I say this to you? I don't know about you guys. I can tell this about myself. If you give me 1 year without Jesus, just 1 year without Jesus, man, I don't know what's going to happen to me. I can tell you, I would turn into a complete monster. That's what would happen to me. Right? Maybe the first 6 months I'll be on what do you call it, muscle memory, right? Like just continue come to church, go back, do this, do that, like just by autopilot the first 6 months, I won't fall apart. Guess what? After that, I will plunge so fast, man. If you don't have joy, you take away my Bible reading, my prayer time, the church family, cell group, my buddies in church, all these things. You take all these things away from me. 1 year is what I give myself. I'd be finished, man. I would embezzle the church of a lot of money, right? And then I'll get sacked, okay? And I'll be so angry. I would have an affair, okay? And then I'll get, my wife will leave me. My kids will be angry with me. And then after a while, I'll turn to alcohol, to make me feel like I'm not such a loser because I would be such a loser. And after that, I will become a workaholic, to forget that I'm an alcoholic. And after that, I would cheat on the woman whom I cheated with, so I would have a mistress on top of my mistress. And then everything will fall apart. Everything, I guarantee everything. If I don't have Jesus for 1 year, that's Fergus Ong, man. I will be finished so fast. You think, Fergus, you think you're not incapable of great immorality? So fast I would fall. But for the grace of God. I tell you, every single one of us, the fact that your life is kind of held together still, it's but for the grace of God. Because ordinary people never think they're capable of great crimes. And then we always say, I don't kill people, I don't rape people, I don't murder people, I don't... Okay, fine, yeah, that's by the grace of God, man. Like give yourself 2 years without Jesus, see what happens. And I'm not saying this just for whatever, I want to tell you guys about... if you've lived through the 20th century, you know that the Second World War, we saw the most heinous, horrific things that human beings could do. My friend just came back from Hungary, so he was in one of the concentration camps. And he told me, Fergus, the officers in that concentration camp were not even German SS guards. They were local Hungarians. And they had grown so bitter and envious of the Jews because everything they touched seemed to turn to gold, that normal Hungarian men turned into what looked like SS guards. And they were gassing Jewish children right there. It's not even the German Nazis, man. These are the Hungarian counterparts. And I tell you something about the SS guards. A lot of these men grew up in Christian homes. They were normal boys. Just like our sons. And one day, just a bit of indoctrination. By the way, this is a very sobering reminder. Just because you go to church doesn't mean that you've got God really anchored in you, right? And just a bit of indoctrination, some intensity, some hate language, some paint out for you, like, you know what? You know how you get rid of all these Jews? Go gas them. Buddy, go gas them. Yeah. I can pick up a boy from off the street. I can show him some videos. I can radicalize this guy. That's what they did. They radicalized all these boys. Normal, sweet German boys. And you know what they became? They became monsters. These are guys who would drag a pregnant woman out onto a field. They would rip her stomach open and laugh as the baby fell out. The dying fetus fell out from her stomach. They would laugh about something like that. Monsters. But just a few years before, they were sweet boys. How did that happen? Maybe that happened because we don't have a sober enough estimation about our own morality. And I suppose the only way you can beat down this hypocrisy of saying that I wouldn't be one of them, I'm not one of the Pharisees, I wouldn't have said crucify him, I would never be one of those SS guards. The only way to make sure that hypocrisy does not take root is to have a sober estimation about our own morality. Because give ourselves a few years away from Jesus, I don't want to imagine what kind of monsters we can become. I know what I will become. How do we move forward from this? Because Jesus has called out hypocrisy and he's saying, hate hypocrisy. Love all these things. A bit of self-scrutiny. Love a clean conscience more. Serve your followers. No agendas other than God's agenda. And don't bluff yourself, be honest with God, Come to terms with your progressive, not complete transformation. Love an inside-out beauty. And have a sober estimation about ourselves. And when you hear all these things, man, you can think, wow, is Jesus really so angry with people? He was, like on some level he was. He said, you brood of vipers, you snakes, how will you avoid being sent to hell? And I don't think he wanted to send them to hell. That's why he went to the great lengths to say all these things. He loved them. He loved them so much. He didn't want to see them die. And after saying all these things, he turned to the rest of the city and he said these great words, "Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills its prophets. Every good man I sent to you. Every good man I sent to you. You killed them. You mocked them. You drove them out. You called them Jesus freaks. When I sent good men to you, you called them, all those Christian types. Come again already lah. Started lah. All these Christians invite me to Christmas again lah. Every good man I sent to you, Jerusalem, you killed them, you ripped them up. How often would I have gathered you? How often I wanted to gather you like a mother hen gathers her chicks. How often I wanted to protect you, to grow you, to love you, to raise you up. But you were not willing. You're not willing. You're stubborn, you're hard-hearted, you're hard-headed, you're hard-nut. You're not willing. But I want to save you so much. But you're not willing. SIBKL, I prophesy over you right now that every stubborn heart be softened right now. Right now. Because you may not be good, but God is so good. And you've been fighting God for how long now? How many years now? You still want to fight with God? Let it go, my friends. Let it go. And come before the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, His throne of grace. He doesn't want to condemn you. He wants to love you. He wants to love you. And I hope you hear His love today. Can I invite us all to have a response? If you can close your eyes. Every single one of us. I want to invite all of us to rise to our feet in a moment. And as you rise to our feet, it is an invitation for you to say, God, whatever stubbornness that is in my heart, whatever area I've been fighting with you, if I have seen some hypocrisy in me in the last 45 minutes, God, can you come? Can you come? I want to be honest with you. I don't want to bluff you. I don't want to bluff myself. I come clean. And I own up. I am like that. Okay, God, I am like that one. I am just like that. Can you change me? Can you beautify me from the inside out? Please, I give you full access to make me better, make me cleaner, make me more beautiful. I know I'm such a selfish guy. Everybody tells me I'm so selfish. Come lah, make me clean, God, because I can't overturn my own self-centeredness. And I know I got a really forked tongue. I know everywhere I go, I talk like that. I can't overcome it. God, can you come and help me overcome my own speech? Whatever it is, friends, whatever area of your life, you want to see God take hold, let Him in right now. Let Him in. Let Him in. Because Jesus says somewhere else in Matthew, why do you call me good? No one is good, but God is so good. So good to me. Amen. Let's worship with this song.